In order to appreciate what we got right now, we have to understand that it is not as bad as it can get. And the way to do that is to go back in history to see how bad things can be. And oh yes, in the history of WrestleMania, there have been some really, really bad matches. This is the top 10 worst matches in WWE WrestleMania history. Now, the only matches I could think of that were really, really bad that I can remember was probably Taker versus Bossman, Hell in a Cell. Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg with Stone Cold Steve Austin refereeing. What was the other one? I don't know. That's the only ones I can think off the top of my head. I'm sure there's more. Before we get into it, go ahead, hit that subscribe button and the bell next to it. Let's get into this.
We're only weeks away from the highly anticipated WrestleMania 39, and if history is anything to go by, we're in for a treat. Not only is WrestleMania the biggest night in the industry, it's the platform where the past year's worth of feuds finally reach their conclusion. For almost 40 years now, WrestleMania has been packed full of incredible matches, historic moments, and deafening pops. But for all its memorable moments, WrestleMania has...
Oh yeah, Giant Gonzalez. Now that I think about it now as an adult, I remember seeing this as a kid. Why they got my man dressed as the Beast Titan from Attack on Titan? If you know, you know.
certainly missed the mark a few times. So whether they were tasteless, confusing, or downright boring, we're going to be looking at the top 10 worst matches in WrestleMania history. Some of them are pretty famous for their subpar presentation, some are hidden gems we've pulled from the archives of bad WWE moments. Starting with number 10, The Undertaker versus the Big Boss Man, WrestleMania 15.
This was bad.
1999 was peak Attitude Era, so it's surprising to see that year's Mania, WrestleMania 15, was just so bad. Aside from Austin versus The Rock in the main event, nearly every match was a complete dud, but none more so than the Big Boss Man versus The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match. At the time, Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness were feuding with Vince McMahon's corporation, and the only member of the corporation that didn't have a match was the Big Boss Man. So, for some reason, despite having zero build, WWE stuck the two together in a cell because they had to make it seem interesting somehow. Not only was the match boring and tame, especially by Hell in the Cell standards, but the ending was so bizarre, it left the entire audience and millions of people watching at home scratching their heads. After the match, The Undertaker hanged the Big Boss Man with a noose from the roof of the cell. And just as the Big Boss Man's spasming body went limp, the commentary team began recapping the previous night's WrestleMania party as though we hadn't just witnessed a literal murder on our TV screens.
That was crazy.
Number 9.
When I was a kid, I actually thought he died. Like, there's only 3 people in wrestling or in TV show history that I actually thought died in real life. There was the Big Boss Man when he was hanging off a noose. There was when Mankind was thrown off the top of the Hell in a Cell, and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when the Green Ranger jumped into the Megazord and started giving them hands and feet. Like, I thought they were going to die in that episode. I'm serious.
The Great Khali versus Kane, WrestleMania 23. If you look up the term failing upward in the dictionary, you'll find a picture of the Great Khali. He's been a terrible wrestler from day one. Slow, clunky, he doesn't sell anything, and has a constant look of boredom on his face. Yet he had a solid 8-year career with the WWE, even winning the World Heavyweight Championship and being inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2021. But ask anyone to name a good match of his, and they'll stare at you blankly. Khali's only selling point is that he's 7 feet tall, and even the best guys in the business couldn't carry him to a good match. This was proven at WrestleMania 23 when he took on Kane. The match was boring as hell, and in true tone-deaf WWE style, they tried to recreate the iconic moment of Hogan slamming Andre the Giant, only with Kane.
You know what? Like I said before, that's what they're going to try to do with Brock Lesnar and Omos. They're going to try to recreate that over again, all right? And the more that I think about it, a lot of these WrestleMania matches that have 2 big guys involved, they don't end up good. I'm a little worried about that Omos match, man.
Slamming Khali. It didn't work. It came off as forced. And to make matters worse, Khali then got right back up, choke slammed Kane, and got the victory. Just terrible all around. Number 8, Molly Holly versus Victoria, WrestleMania 20. At WrestleMania 20, the women's division in WWE was at an all-time low. This card featured 2 women's matches, one of which was the very forgettable Playboy evening gown match designed to advertise an upcoming Playboy edition featuring the WWE Divas. Thankfully, it lasted less than 3 minutes. The other women's match at WrestleMania 20 saw Victoria face Molly Holly in a hair versus title match. Molly Holly lost, and so she had to get scalped. Victoria forced Molly into some kind of BDSM chair and shaved her head, all while laughing maniacally like some kind of barbershop James Bond villain. Molly Holly screamed like she was trapped in a Saw movie, acting like she was having her limbs pulled off rather than enduring a simple buzz cut. We respect Molly Holly's dedication, but it was pretty cringy. Number 7, Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania 20.
Awful.
2 powerhouses, 2 big names, and Stone Cold Steve Austin as the special guest referee. What could possibly go wrong? Under any other circumstances, this would have been a dream match, and in the weeks leading up to it, it was definitely going to be. However, 3 days before the match, Brock Lesnar publicly announced that he was leaving WWE to join the NFL. Fans already knew that Goldberg was on the way out too, rendering the match completely pointless. The negative reaction was clear right away. Boos drowned out the arena, and the frustration was obvious on the faces of both performers. Goldberg picked up the win, but the cheers only came when Stone Cold delivered a stunner to both men after the match. Number 6.
He had to. For Stone Cold Steve Austin to be in any type of match at all and not get anyone a stunner, it doesn't matter if he's a special guest referee or not. That would have been an utter disappointment, in my personal opinion. He got to stunner somebody. Stone Cold's there, somebody getting hit with it.
The Women's Battle Royal, WrestleMania 25. Before the likes of Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair elevated women's wrestling to the top of the card, we had matches like this one. At WrestleMania 25, 25 women competed in a battle royal to crown the so-called Miss WrestleMania. Before the match began, Kid Rock came out and performed for a total of 10 minutes, time that could really have been used for 2 entire Goldberg matches. As Kid
this dude is funny.
Rock was singing about getting women high and sleeping with them, the entrants to the Battle Royal all came out at once, dancing and gyrating alongside Kid Rock. The match kicked off right away, with one diva being eliminated before the ring announcer had finished explaining the rules. Throughout the car crash that followed, commentators pretended not to realize that one of the participants was a large tattooed man dressed in drag, even when it came down to the final 3, and it was obvious that this mysterious wrestler was Santino Marella disguised as a woman. Santino went on to win the match, hammering home the punchline that the best woman in WWE at the time was a man. Number 5, Triple H versus The Ultimate Warrior, WrestleMania 12. The Ultimate Warrior had some bad matches in his time, but none worse than his match with Triple H at WrestleMania 12. The match itself, despite only being 2 minutes long, wasn't bad in terms of in-ring work, but as with a lot of low-level WrestleMania moments, context is king. At the time, Triple H was a red-hot up-and-comer, and this match alone really stalled his momentum going forward. Triple H hit Warrior with his finisher, the pedigree, which at the time was a very protected move. But Warrior no-sold the move, got up, laid out Triple H, and picked up the win, burying the young Triple H and then quitting the company 3 months later. We'd like to say it was surprising, but looking back, it was classic Warrior. Number 4, Butterbean versus Bart Gun, WrestleMania 15. We know what you're thinking.
Hold on. Is that my man's from... Is that King Hippo from Punch-Out? Don't he look like King... I do not remember this match at all. I remember the Mr. T versus Roddy Piper boxing match. I don't remember this at all.
Who the hell is Butterbean? Well, he's not a wrestler, but he certainly knows how to throw a punch. Butterbean was a legendary boxer as well as a kickboxer and a mixed martial artist, and someone thought it would be a good idea to put him in a shoot fight with a professional wrestler on wrestling's biggest stage. The results were unsurprising. This was the climax to the controversial and very stupid Brawl for All tournament that took place between 1998 and 1999. Head writer and professional career shortener Vince Russo thought it would be fun to pit wrestlers against each other in legitimate boxing matches, with the winner going up against one of the toughest men on the planet. The match between Butterbean and Bart Gun lasted 35 seconds in total.
Dang.
Butterbean legitimately knocked Bart Gun unconscious with a single punch, making every wrestler who'd competed in the Brawl for All tournament look like chumps in the process. To make matters worse, the punch not only knocked Bart Gun out, but pretty much killed his career in the WWE. Number 3, The Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez, WrestleMania 9. The Undertaker's great WrestleMania moment.
Hey man, Undertaker, for all the Attack on Titan fans, Undertaker should have called Aaron, and Aaron could have came in and hit him on one of these, you know what I'm saying, to take care of that.
Moments far outweigh his bad ones, but no one can deny that his match with Giant Gonzalez at WrestleMania 9 was probably the worst match of his career. It wasn't The Undertaker's fault. The dead man was a consummate professional and could pull off a good match with almost anyone, but the near 8-foot Gonzalez was too big for Taker to carry throughout this 16-minute car wreck. Gonzalez moved slowly and awkwardly, but still managed to dominate Taker for the majority of the match. At one point, Undertaker passed out and had to be carried back on a stretcher, but then returned and won the match by disqualification in one of the most anticlimactic endings to any Undertaker or WrestleMania match in history. Number 2.
I mean, the referees do that all the time. They be having concussions and passing out and having brain aneurysms, and then get up 3 minutes later. No, not even 3 minutes, like 5 seconds later, and then count to 3 to get somebody pinned. How is that possible? So the Undertaker just took a page out of their book, which looks goofy for you to carry someone all the way out on a stretcher. Let's say if you're a tired paramedic or whatever, and all of a sudden they just get up and run down a ramp and then pin somebody. That's pretty crazy.
2. The DX Band versus the Crowd, WrestleMania 14. Okay, so we're cheating with this one,
yeah,
but this piece of WrestleMania history is so bad that it was actually cut from the WWE Network. At WrestleMania 14 in 1998, WWE had the bright idea of getting Chris Warren, the singer from the band that made the iconic D-Generation X theme song, to sing America the Beautiful. Nu metal was the hottest thing at the time, so Chris Warren put an alternative spin on the classic anthem, throwing in plenty of heavy riffs and bad screaming for good measure. What followed were boos so deafening that you could barely hear the music. It culminated with Warren screaming "America" over and over again in one of the most transparent attempts to get a crowd on someone's side in wrestling history. Even during the Attitude Era, the fans proved that you don't mess with tradition. Number 1, Michael Cole versus Jerry Lawler, WrestleMania 27.
I forgot about this match.
Wrestling fans rarely see eye to eye on anything, but if there's one thing we can all agree on, it's that Michael Cole versus Jerry Lawler was the worst WrestleMania match of all time. The historically bad match took place at WrestleMania 27, which might have actually been one of the worst Manias ever, so much so that even appearances from The Rock and Stone Cold couldn't save this mess. This was one of the most forgettable periods in WWE history, but we'll never forget this match for all the wrong reasons. The match took place during Michael Cole's bizarre heel phase. For months, he'd been an insufferable idiot on commentary, more so than usual, until Jerry Lawler got sick and tired of his crap and challenged him to a match. The result was 24 minutes of pure torture, complete with bad wrestling, dead crowds, and Michael Cole dressed in an orange singlet. If Jerry Lawler had just squashed Cole in seconds, the angle might have worked, but the match seemed to drag on and on forever. And to add salt to the wound, Michael Cole came out victorious. That concludes our list of the 10 worst WrestleMania matches of all time. Did we miss any? What were your least favorite WrestleMania moments in history?
Yeah, if they missed any, let me know in the comment section. I know for sure the Lawrence Taylor match was really bad. As much as I love LT as an NFL player, that match was really bad. the Roddy Piper boxing match. I can't think of any. I know the other ones that were pretty bad all involved big people, which makes me really concerned about the Omos match. But anyways, it is what it is. I mean, we have to start off with the bad stuff. Eventually, we'll get to the best matches in WrestleMania history. Thank you guys so much for watching. Salute, peace, have a good day. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it. Let go.